Hello, travelers. Welcome to Reach the World. For over 20 years, Reach the World has used virtual exchange to inspire youth to become curious, confident, and compassionate global citizens. My name is Tim, and this week, together with Citi's E for Education campaign, we're going on a journey to explore how global citizens can put that valuable skill set to work as part of a global career. We'll be connecting with Citi employees in financial capitals around the world, all of whom have generously agreed to share their stories, observations, and tips for finding success in this highly interconnected global economy. Today, we're traveling to Bogotá, Colombia, to speak with Christian Suarez. Christian's joining us to talk about working, living, and thriving professionally in the bustling city of Bogotá. But before we meet Christian, I want to welcome the teachers, students, Reach the World travelers, and early career professionals who are watching today. Please feel free to use the YouTube chat bar to let us know you're here, where you're joining from, and of course to share any questions you have along the way for our guests. We'll be sure to work them into our conversation as we go. But with that, I'm ready to journey to Colombia if you are. So Christian, let's bring you on screen. Welcome to Reach the World.
Hi, team. Thank you very much for the space and the opportunity to share my experience here in Bogotá and Citi with you all guys. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have some questions we're going to talk about today, and I want to get started right away with your global career path. Can you describe for us how you got started down this path of global citizenship, and how did that turn into a career that demands global competency for success?
Thank you, Tim. So it has been quite a journey, long journey. I have been working at Citibank for at least 10 years. And I started working as soon as I finished my university. I started working at Citi. And I think the first question when you're in university or you're working for a job is what I like to do, what's my passion? And I think that's key to find the right spot. It's about your passion. So when I was at university, I knew that my passion was finance. But in university, you don't know what's about, like, you don't know all the jobs that you can find in a bank, what the specialties that you can find in the bank. So I wanted to discover a big bank. I want to work in a big bank that can bring me a lot of international opportunities. But I also that I could find what I really like about the financial market. So that's when I started as an intern at Citi, and I started as investment banker. So I had this huge opportunity to start as investment banker, doing models, trying to understand companies from a deep dive scope. And after that, I joined the markets team, which is a total different team. We do more like swaps, derivatives. We do funding to clients. So it's a more specific area than investment banking. So once I started working at Citi, I discovered that Citibank was a huge opportunity for me, not just to understand like all the financial market, but also to have the opportunity to go and explore Colombian, how the Colombian economy works, how the Peruvian economy works, also how the US economy works. So that was key for me to understand how the world, the financial world understands. And this is an interesting story because when I was discussing with my friends from college and they were working at local banks, they were telling me like, look, we do this really fancy stuff from the Colombian market. And I said, wow, that's really cool. But I'm doing this fancy stuff for all the countries, for all Latin countries. I'm understanding the world. So I think that this is a key part from Citi. And maybe you have heard this from other people from Citi, but Citi is the largest bank, but with local presence. So we behave like a local bank. We don't behave like an international bank. Of course, we have all these international bank capabilities. We're super well connected, but we try to behave and understand our clients as a local bank. So this just bring me the local culture, which I'm Colombian, I'm facing Colombian clients, okay? But it's also letting me the opportunity to understand how international financial market works, how clients all over the world, they behave, having different experience, different language. Speaking, for example, myself speak Portuguese, English, Spanish, so I have the ability to interact with a lot of clients in LATAM without having any language barrier. Also understanding different cultures, how the client wants to interact with us. So that has been my journey so far. It's a very interesting journey, not only with clients, also understanding the market. So that has been so far. Now I'm working on the solutions team. Basically, on the solutions team, what we do, it's to prepare, let's say, a client that is having any risk management situation from the market perspective, meaning FX, interest rates, commodity hedging. We advise them, we provide a solution, we try to understand what are the client complaints, where their key pain points, and we try to provide a solution that it's tailor-made for them. We also focus on the funding part, on trying to provide funding to our clients, but not the standard bilateral funding, a bank providing a funding to a client. It's more structured funding in which we try to adapt our funding to our clients. So that's basically my current situation here at Citi.
All right. You mentioned early on that you knew that you wanted to do international things. You wanted to do global things, like outside of your country. Did you have any like particular moment or experience that made you interested in the broader world, or what was it that started you or helped you understand that that's something you really wanted to do?
Sure, Tim. So when I was at university, we always saw this international market. So of course in Colombia, let's say I will focus on my particular case. We saw equity business here in Colombia, but equity business in Colombia is super small when we compare to the US, to Europe, to Asia. So I wanted to see, okay, if I just focus in Colombian market, my knowledge and my experience will be just based in Colombia. And I didn't want it to limit my capabilities to Colombia. And that's when I started looking more into the US. At university, I was trying to learn more about the US stock market, to the European stock market. So I said, look, Colombia is so small in the world, and most of our Latin countries are so small that if I just keep my experience in Colombia, I'm not going to be able to have better understanding of the international financial market.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned, kind of listed an impressive array of languages that you speak. How did you come to learn all of those languages, and do they help you in your everyday life at work?
They do. And Tim, let me start with the following. At Citi, once you start working at Citi, you are not just working for a local bank. You are not just having one experience. You are not just focusing in the Colombian culture, let's say. If you are working at Citi in Colombia, you have three key parties that you have to work with. The first, your clients. But here from Colombia, we just not cover Colombian clients. We cover clients in Brazil, in Peru, in the US, in Europe, in Asia. So we have a broad experience with clients. So of course, having the language, at least for me, to cover the entire Latam was super helpful. So that's party number one. Party number two, it's our internal team. So given that we're a global bank, some of the process that we do so let's say we offer a product to our clients, but middle office, back office, our structuring teams in US. So we need to also work together with a lot of teams that are based in different countries, based in India, based in Europe, based in the US. So you also have to work with those teams. And the third part that it's the most challenging for me is also the legal regulation part, to understand what is the complexity of each country. Because yeah, of course, we can have the relationship with the client. You can be really good at relationship with the client. You can also have your really good relationship internally in the bank, but you need to understand also the financial market of each country. You need to understand the legal part of each country, and that makes you that makes you understand really well how the market works for each country. So that's key for me, and it was key for me to understand the language. When you understand the language, let's say from Brazil, you also understand the culture. It's easily to understand and to make more contact with your clients, to make more business. So that was key for me, and that's how I work with them.
All right, very interesting. You are calling today from Bogotá, and it sounds like you grew up in Colombia. For those of us who have not had the chance to visit Colombia or are curious about what it's like to live and work in Colombia, are there any sort of intercultural skills that you use to make you especially successful in Colombia specifically as part of your role?
Sure. So I'm in my role right now. I'm a client-facing person, so I have a lot of interactions with clients. So for me, first of all, was really key to understand culture-wise, right? Of course, I'm Colombian, but we have business. I'm based in Bogotá, but we have a lot of business in Medellin, in Cali, in Barranquilla, different cities from Colombia. And knowing and understanding each culture of each city was key. Why? Because let's say it's different to do business in Medellin than to do business here in Bogotá. People are different. They have different culture. They like to do different kind of business. So what's key to understand each culture that we have in Colombia. Same will happen in the US. If you're doing business with a person in New York or a person in California, it's going to be way different. But the second thing that I think it's key to have success here in Colombia or in Latam is to have this one-on-one personal interaction with your clients. So, I wanted to share an experience that I had. But let's say when COVID came, the interaction with the clients were on a call or via Zoom, and you start getting that it was difficult to interact with the client. Like it was hard to get contact and connection with the client. Here in Latam, we like to have this kind of connection to understand the client. It's not only about business. We also like to talk about family stuff. So what are your career plans? So our relationship with the client is not just focused on business. And I think that's key for having success in Colombia. Trying to understand your client, not just from the business perspective, trying to understand him, what he's doing, what his plans, why the client is compensated, why the person that you're talking is going to be compensated at the end, what are the plans that he has. So I think that's key, and that's have been one of my biggest success here at Citi in Bogota, to understand the client from a holistic perspective. I would say that's point number one. And also I think the value added that we can only bring at Citi is to bring the international experience to the client. I think that's key. Being in a Colombian market, which is a regulated market, when you are able to bring all this expertise that you have at Citi, this international expertise from the debt capital market, from the market side, from the banking side, clients really, really appreciate. So not just being a Colombian banker that thinks about Colombia, but being a banker that thinks worldwide, LATAM, and you can share a lot of experience of trade that you have done with other LATAM clients or Asian client. Our clients really, really evaluate that.
All right. Thank you, Christian. That's great advice. Do you have any favorite things about living and working in Colombia? What do you really enjoy about being based where you are?
Living in Colombia is really it's nice, and I will start first of Colombia, right? Because once you live in Bogota, you are able to live the entire experience of living in Colombia. And Colombia is a really diverse country. You have in the north the Caribbean coast, you have the Pacific coast, you have the Amazonas. Colombia is full of mountains. So from a country-wise perspective, you're able to have a full diversity experience. You can know a lot of cities. If you go to a city in the north, it's going to be a total different city in the center of the country, on the south of the country. So we have a lot of variety here. So I would say that Colombia-wise, it's amazing. You have culture, you have food, you have really nice place to visit, and that will be based in Colombia. But now focusing in Bogota. Bogota, it's one of the biggest cities in Latam. So you will have this international experience. You will be able to know about any international market in Colombia. You can also have access to international food. Like Colombia, it's a really good place to work. It's an international hub, given the geographic situation we are. You can have direct flights from here to Sao Paulo, Argentina, Peru, Ecuador, Mexico, the US. So we are in a geographic position where we can have access to all of these people working here in Colombia, where you will have access to their experience, to their knowledge. And so that I would say, based in Colombia, of course, you will have international expertise. You will have experience with a lot of people, but also going up from the business part and from the banking part. In Bogota, you will have access to all of the things that you know about Colombia. You will have really nice food, really nice party. You will enjoy Colombia as a local. People in Colombia are super friendly. In Bogota, you will feel like as home, and you will have this Latam culture, which is way different from any other country or city that you have been.
All right, amazing. I know there are lots of Reach the World travelers who come to Colombia for various reasons and share their experiences in Colombia with young students back in the United States. And many of them who I know have found a way to come back to Colombia eventually, somehow, some way, because they love it. You know, they really connect with the country. And for those people, and even for other travelers or young people who are just getting started in their career, who haven't yet discovered Colombia, what are some sort of practical steps that they could take to make themselves more competitive for a job, say, working with you at Citi in Bogota?
That's a really good question. And I would say that this is for any job in any region, in any country. And I will start from the more general part to the more specific part. But first of all, and what have been working for me is, as I mentioned at the beginning, passion. You need you really like Colombia and you really like Bogota. That can be the passion that you have, and you want to develop your career here. But also you want to find the right place to work with, because living in Bogota is cool, but if you don't like the job that you do, then your experience here is not going to be as good as you think. So I think first of all, you need to understand your passion, what you like, what drives you, what motivates you. If you're working up and it's making, I don't know, a cold day, but you're happy to go to work. So I think first of all, passion. Second of all, discipline. And that has been super critical for me, because if you're disciplined, if you have a really good connection with your clients, if you have really good follow-ups, if you have focus and you have one goal, I think that's key to have success in your career. So I think for me, passion and discipline is the most important thing that you have to include in your careers. That will be from a broad aspect. But when then you try to put it into Colombia, okay, what will make you more successful, or how you can get a job here in Colombia? It's understanding the market, understanding the market in Colombia, understanding the clients, trying to know what's the Colombian culture, how we behave, how we like to interact. That's going to be key when you're finding a situation. I'd say if you're an international student, of course, competing with a Colombian person here in Colombia for the same job, you're bringing the international experience that's very valuable. Not all of the people here in Colombia have this international experience, but also you need to know the local experience. You need to know how local markets are working here, how the people works here, how they like to work, what are the like the regulatory and legal important parts here in Colombia. So I would say that first, passion. Second, discipline. I think you guys that are in this program, that it's amazing. Of course, you all have all those characteristics. But in Colombia, in the case of Colombia, you need to understand the market. You need to understand clients. You need to understand what are you trying to work with, and I think that's key.
Following up on one thing you said, you stressed that it's important to understand how people in Colombia like to interact. Do you have any examples of that? Like, how do people like to interact?
Sure, sure, and that's really common in Latam. But when you have this, let's say we have a meeting with the client, we like to have not just the meeting. Of course, we focus on the priority of the client, but after that meeting, we want to go for lunch. We're gonna go for lunch, not discuss about business, just discuss about life, know each other. So we have like a more personal relationship than a professional relationship, and that's key. Let's say we go for lunch, then I don't know, we grab a beer, we interact about life. So it's more like a personal relationship than just a business relationship. Of course, business is first, personal is second, but you need to work it holistic. Like you need to have both sides. You need to interact with the client. You need to speak. You need to understand what is happening in the city that I don't know, if we're visiting a client in Medellin, you need to understand what's happening in Medellin. What are the political situation? What's the economic situation? What's the football team doing in Medellin? So you need to have a huge perspective and a big perspective of what's the city of Medellin doing, because that way you will be able to interact with the client. So business first, you need to bring a proposal, you need to be a value added for your client. But second, you need to know what are your client needs, what the client wants. If they like golf, okay, I don't know, Rory just won the last PGA tournament. So you need to really be like, you need to understand what drives the client, what are the interests of the client, and start discussing about it, and feel that you're also interested on it. And I think that's key.
Great. I've got two more questions, and hopefully we can coax somebody from our live stream audience to post something in the chat so I can pass that on to you. So anyone who's joining us on the live stream, please feel free to add your comments or questions for Christian in the chat bar, and we'll work it in as we go. Christian, you mentioned other cities in Colombia. I'm curious, do you get a chance to visit other cities in Colombia as part of your work? And outside of Bogota, do you have, I don't want to ask you to list a second favorite, but like, do you have a city you really enjoy going to, and why?
Sure. So, Tim, that's a really good question, and I think when you enter a city, you see that the word's not just Colombia. And I realized that when I started working at Citi Colombia, I thought it's Colombia, it's my Colombian clients. But when you arrive to Citi, you get into the culture of Citi, and the culture of Citi is an international culture. So without being in, I have been in another country, but my experience at the beginning was to be able to interact via phone, via Zoom with people from other countries, and that made me. I really like that, like knowing the experience. Even though that we were working to Zoom, we were able to have an interaction with people within Citi. So I think once you arrive to Citi, you will have this international experience on day one, even though if you're not in visiting or traveling to other countries. So I think that's key because that's what makes Citi so having that diversity in Citi, having being local in how many in countries, we are able to have this local flavor of each country without being on the country, and I think that's key. And but I had two experiences that I really liked and I wanted to share with you. The first one, I used to live in New York for a couple of months. I was in a program, and I really liked the New York lifestyle. The New York experience on the market was way different from what I have my experience here in Bogota. And being in New York in the hub, in the headquarters of Citi, meeting a lot of people, the dimension wise, the trading floor in Citi New York is huge. It's maybe 100 times bigger than the Colombian trading floor. Being able to interact with people from Asia, Latam, US, the learning about the experiences, learning about the market was really helpful for me for my career, and learning that there's huge opportunity to work in other places. I would say that's number one. And the second one was Peru. Peru is a near country, Colombia, but it was, even though that we're kind of similar and we speak Spanish, our culture is similar, but being able there to understand the clients, what they do, how they behave different from the Colombian clients. Lima is more Peru is more focused on Lima. Colombia is more focused in Bogotá, Medellin, Barranquilla. But understanding all those cities and the culture, it was amazing. Let's say in Peru, food is something that I don't know if you have tried Peruvian food. The Peruvian food is amazing. A lot of people are proud of their food. So being able to go into a restaurant with them, understand their culture, what they like to eat, and so on, I really like it.
All right, amazing. I have tried Peruvian food and I'm 100% with you. It's amazing. Can you describe for us just a typical day for you? When does it start? What are some of the major things you might do on an average day, and when does it end?
Sure. So when I woke up, the first thing that I do is read news. I need to be what's happening in the world. As I mentioned, we're not just focusing Colombia. Everything that happens, let's say right now in the U.S. with interest rates, will affect us as a country. Will affect the decision of our central bank. So the first thing that I do, and I try to keep really sharp on that, it's what's happening in the world right now. Not just in Colombia, what's happening in the US, what's happening in Europe, what's happening in Brazil with elections, what's happening in Peru. Because all of us, anything that's happening in the world will affect Colombia at the end. So I think that's point number one. What's happening in the world, so I can be really prepared to any question from our client or to provide any solutions. So that's the first thing in the morning. Since we work on the market side, we have trading hours. So market starts at 8 and closes at 1 local onshore, and it closes at 4 offshore. So within that time, what we're currently doing is working on proposals to clients. So I have, I don't know, on a day, 3 or 4 conversations with clients, and we start asking to the client, okay, what's your pain point? Why are you working right now? What is not letting you sleep right now with the capital market so volatile? What can we help you right now with? So that's my main focus. News. Then I spoke to clients to understand what are the priorities, and then I need to present and to work on proposals. And to work on those proposals is really interesting because if the client has a problem X or Y, there is no immediate a solution right away. I want to hedge my interest rate. Okay, this is a product. No, there is no way to have a finance solution on day one. So, and that's the amazing part of my job is that I'm able to start interacting internally with other people from the bank. So let's say I start talking to trading team. Okay, how are you seeing interest rates? Is this you think they're gonna go higher, lower? How do you see the shape of the curve? Then I go and speak to my team in New York. What are the other LATAM countries, other LATAM counterparties doing? Are they doing this? How you will hedge this? So we kind of start brainstorming, and after that we can provide a solution. So that will be my day. News, then start discussing with clients, and then start discussing internally on potential solutions, and brainstorming to bring up a solution later to the client.
That's so interesting. In all of my conversations with Citi employees and all of these live stream events, almost everybody says they start the day by reading the news. Everything is so interconnected, whether you're in Colombia or New York or Tokyo or, London, wherever you are, what is happening in the news impacts what you do.
Yeah, that's Citi, right? Citi is an international bank. So you need to know what's happening in Asia, even that you're sleeping and you're just starting your day. You need to understand, because otherwise you're not going to be able to provide really good content to your clients.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, Christian, this has been so much fun talking to you. I want to finish with kind of a fun question for the benefit of anybody who hasn't been to Colombia yet, hasn't had a chance to experience it from a purely fun and lifestyle perspective. What are a couple things that first-time visitors to Colombia absolutely have to do or see or experience while they're there?
Great. That's a really good question. Let's say, and it depends on the city you're going to visit, but let's say if you're going to visit Bogotá, of course, I highly recommend to go. Bogotá is full of mountains. So if you like hiking and you like this experience of mountains, you will be able to have and enjoy mountains a lot. There's Monserrate, which is an amazing place. It's top on a mountain. You can see the city from that mountain. If you like the fun part and you like having a good steak and having like this Colombian party, you can go to Andres Chia or Andres DC. Highly recommended, and you will have the local flavor on how we like food, but also how we like to party, how we dance. So that's really cool to go to Andres. If you're going, if I might recommend two other cities that you have to visit in Colombia, it's Cartagena. Cartagena is amazing in the north part of the city, Caribbean coast, but you will be able to find this old city where the Spanish people were based when they were here at the beginning of when they colonized. So it was really amazing. It's an amazing city. So you will be able to have different kind of food, because food from Bogotá is like it's colder. Cartagena is warmer, so you will have really different food. But you also have this Caribbean experience where you will find really nice places to visit and have a nice experience. And the last is Medellin. Medellin is really nice. You can enjoy the city, has different food, has different cultures. So I would say if you can come to Colombia, go visit those three places. Are amazing cities where you will have really good fun and really good experience.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christian. I'm taking furious notes here so I can plan an itinerary based on all of that. I want to say thank you again to you, Christian, for sharing your global career journey with Reach the World today. Thank you also to our entire audience for tuning in. There are many more Citi Global Career Journey stops to come this week especially, so stay tuned. And if you missed any of our previous stops on the Global Career Journey, you can find recordings of those events at Reach the World's YouTube channel, where we've set up a special Citi Global Career Journey playlist so you don't miss anything. Special thanks to the Citi E4 Education campaign, to all our many Citi volunteers for making this learning experience possible, especially you, Christian. Thank you so much. We'll see everyone next time. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you. Bye-bye.